community in Wa East District in the Upper West region forced to flee the area after exchange of fire between villagers and unknown armed men. Several people have been injured, with one casualty reported. We are live in the area for the latest. Also this afternoon, high-powered delegation from Immigration Service heads to troubled Boku, where 3 officers were attacked last Sunday. 1 officer died in the attack. 2 others are battling for their lives in hospital.
The security service is trying very hard to get to the bottom of it, and we will get to the bottom of it, and then the perpetrators will be caught and brought to justice. I have tasked my security couples to make sure that we get to the bottom of the matter and arrest whoever did this.
Manhunt is underway for the suspects as calls for massive crackdown on crime in the area intensify. Also, coalition of civil society groups rejects President Akufo-Addo's appointment of political party activists onto the Electoral Commission, with election 2024 barely a year away.
Using that appointing power to appoint known partisans into the EC undermines the spirit of non-partisanship. We accordingly call on Dr. Peter Piahini and Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani to do the honorable thing and resign.
The civil society groups have been speaking publicly for the first time on the matter. We'll hear from them. Also, this afternoon, opposition NDC wraps up vetting of parliamentary aspirants ahead of the party's primaries. We take you on a quick tour of some betting centres in the regions. Meanwhile, here in Accra, there's mounting tension between supporters of incumbent MP for Ayawaso North, Yusuf Jaja, and one of his contenders. You want to stay with us because we have details of these and more. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are. This afternoon, several residents of Go, a farming community near Funsi in the Wa East District of the Upper West region, have fled the area following battle with some individuals there. The armed men reportedly stormed the community Sunday afternoon, shooting indiscriminately and injuring many people. Multiple sources have told 3 News the villagers reportedly affected a citizen's arrest of a gunman who was seen loitering in the community Sunday afternoon. In the process of interrogating him, his compatriots emerged from the forest, riding several motorbikes, and started firing indiscriminately into the crowd, injuring some people. The victims have since been taken to the Wa Regional Hospital for medical care. It is unclear the motive of the group, but some are linking it to a land dispute, while others are suggesting a possible terrorist activity. Let's get on the line now and speak to a Member of Parliament for Wa East, Dr. Godfred Seidu. Thank you for joining us, Doc. So, what briefing have you received so far on this matter from your security couples?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think the information I have at the moment is quite sketchy. I got wind of this development last night, and I got briefing from the district police commander this morning. Now he confirmed that there was a reported incident like that. They were advised, the reporter was advised to report this incident to the nearest police station. And if you look at the nature of my district, the nearest police station is actually in Wa municipality. And so the police in Wa municipality were alerted. They got onto the scene, but the activity had taken place and the assailants had left. At the moment, my information is that the incident, the case has been reported, has been referred to the regional police PID. I'm on my way to the regional police commander to get first-hand information on what actually happened. At the moment, the district commander tells me that their initial preliminary suspicions are that, one, there might be a chief that is involved and sent some young men who were armed to go and cause the alleged trouble, or there may be an incident of land dispute around the area that people have resorted to this. Or the third aspect is there could be some galamseyers that are trying to assert themselves on their territories and so on and so forth. So as I said, it's early days yet. We are yet to get to the bottom of it. I've asked the appropriate people, and we have sketchy information. Until I speak to the police commander, I will not have a firm handle on what exactly the cause is and the extent of the incident.
Right, and while you get that information from the police, briefly confirm for me whether any individuals died in this latest attack?
Say again?
I'm wondering if any casualties were recorded. We understand some people were injured.
I'm told someone is dead. That's the information I have. I have also, so again, when I get to the police commander, I'll confirm all that.
All right.
At the moment, I spoke to the assemblyman for the area, and he says there's peace, relative peace. The community is calm. They don't have any issues.
All right, thank you very much. You heard the Member of Parliament for Wa East, Dr. Godfred Seidu, speaking to us on this particular subject of some attack on Sunday in the area. We understand some people were injured, and there is unconfirmed report of the death of one person. As and when he gets a lot more information from the police in the area, we will furnish you with those details. Meanwhile, this afternoon, a high-powered delegation from the Immigration Service is headed for Boku in the Upper East region, where 3 officers were attacked last Sunday. One of them was killed and 2 others are battling for their lives in hospital. The latest incident has heightened calls for a massive crackdown on crime in Boku. Member of Parliament for Boku Central, Emman Kwegyir Aggrey, has condemned the incident and called for a thorough probe into the latest disturbances. An outraged Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu has tasked the security agencies to fish out the perpetrators as soon as possible.
In Boku, it's very difficult to be able to explain why sometimes even people decide to take their guns and such. We all know that the place has been very stable in terms of security, but we don't know. We are still trying to find out where they targeted, why these 3 individuals, the person know them, what happened. We don't know. We are trying very hard, the security services is trying very hard to get to the bottom of it, and we will get to the bottom of it, and then the perpetrators will be caught and brought to justice. So that is what we are doing. I have tasked my security couples to make sure that we get to the bottom of the matter and arrest whoever did this heinous crime.
You heard that Stephen Yakubu, he is the Upper East Regional Minister, also chair of the Regional Security Council. While that probe is underway, many are calling for a comprehensive assessment of a security situation in the troubled Boku area to prevent loss of more lives. You recall members of a Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament only last month aborted a fact-finding mission to the area following sporadic gunshots and threats of harm. The Immigration Service, in a statement, has been rallying its men to remain focused as steps are taken to fish out the perpetrators. Well, for security analysts with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Dr. Victor Docker, the cause over youth agitations and recurrent strife must be re-examined.
Now you take Boku, you take the recent happenings in Nalerigo and elsewhere, then you know that it's a kind of wave sort of sweeping across that these youths who have in their possession illegal weapons can now challenge authority, the state authority. So if they feel aggrieved, then they take up these arms and then perpetrate these kind of crimes.
You heard there Dr. Victor Docker. Residents have been thrown into a state of shock. Economic activities, we understand, have since ground to a halt, and many people are fearing for their lives. And the Boku issue appears a complex one, which never goes away. Let's engage security expert Emmanuel Kwegyir. Thank you for joining us, sir. How do we fix this complex puzzle in Boku? Attacks, and more attacks, and then subsequently loss of lives?
Well, Governor, thank you for having me, and good afternoon, as always, to your cherished listeners. In fact, Boku is doable, as I always say. The only solution, Boku, is to bring the feuding faction into a roundtable discussion. But it has now gone beyond that. I think government has to look at a Truth and Reconciliation Committee or Commission. Because if you speak to most of the young men, or if you like the youth of Boku, they don't even know why they are fighting, except to say that they're fighting for chieftaincy title and stuff like that. But it goes beyond that. This is why I'm calling for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission on Boku. One, it will give both feuding factions the opportunity to say, to tell their stories. Don't forget, this conflict predates independence. When that happens, government would now engage conflict and peace experts who will situate and contextualize the problem and recommend to government the next step of action. Don't forget, peace processes are not events on its own. It's a process. So the longer it takes, the more complex the situation becomes. And another advantage of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is that the feuding factions will now trust the process, given the political tune it has taken.
Right.
The government can now put an amnesty on arms in place, where individuals who are in the possession of arms in Boku can lay down their weapons for some incentives. Having done all of that, we move to the next process. So the situation of peacekeeping and using the military to brutalize innocent civilians in some instances is not helping. If you look at the budget we have spent on Boku, if we were to choose on the path of bringing the student faction into a roundtable discussion and situating that with a Peace and Reconciliation Commission, I think it would be far, far lesser and to be to the benefit of this country than the current arrangement we have.
And before I let you go, and not to cut you, Mr. Kuting, I wonder if you have any word for the security agencies themselves while we wait for the Truth and Reconciliation Committee or Commission on how to conduct themselves to prevent them from reprisals and attacking the residents in retaliation.
In fact, if you look at the weapons in the hands of the youth on both sides, we are only sending our men in Boku to go and die. They can be ambushed at any time. They even have more sophisticated weapons than what our security personnel are holding. So that is why we have to have a complete rethink about Boku. Given that terrorism is knocking at our borders, I'm sure you heard about what happened in a community in Wa over the weekend. That is how it starts. And it creates ungoverned spaces, and it will make it so difficult in our fight against terrorism, even given that Ghana is the chair to the Accra Initiative.
Thank you very much, Emman Kwegyir. Always a pleasure having you join us to share your perspectives on security matters. Emman Kwegyir is a security analyst. Now, President Akufo-Addo may have already sworn in 3 new members of the Electoral Commission, but pressure is this afternoon mounting on him to take action and remove from the commission 2 of the 3 members over their open affiliation to the New Patriotic Party. Dr. Peter Piahene, Salima Ahmed Tijani, and Reverend Ekuafori Boateng were last month sworn into office, but it has emerged political backgrounds and activities of these 2 individuals make them unfit to hold the position on the Electoral Commission, a body expected to be neutral. Dr. Peter Piahene in particular has been found to be actively engaged in party activities in the Bono region and was in 2021 in the running to be appointed Bono Regional Minister from a pool of NPP activists. Well, this afternoon, a joint press conference organized by the Civic Forum Initiative, Star Ghana Foundation, and the Coalition of Election Observers Kodeo called for the resignation of Dr. Piahene and Salima Ahmed Tijani. Here is Reverend Fred Digby addressing the press.
Using that appointing power to appoint known partisans or persons with severe partisan conflict of interest relationships into the EC undermines the spirit of non-partisanship that underpins the model of EMB that the framers of our Constitution. It is our considered and strongly held view that the position that appointment to the independent and non-partisan EC of persons who are non-partisans or who have a partisan cloud over their heads is inconsistent with the spirit of the Constitution. Such appointments risk undermining cross-party and public trust and confidence in the EC. It is for all the foregoing reasons that we register our disapproval of an opposition to the appointment of Dr. Peter Piahene and Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani as members of the Electoral Commission of Ghana. This will be in the supreme interest of our country's continued democratic progress, while both Dr. Piahene and Madam Salima Ahmed Tijani meet the generic benchmark qualification stipulated under Article 44.1, that is the same qualification one must satisfy to be a member of Parliament. We believe strongly that, having regard to the independent and non-partisan nature of our Electoral Commission and its mandate, the spirit of the Constitution demands far more in the way of one's suitability to be a member of the EC. We accordingly call on Dr. Peter Piahini and Hajia Salim Ahmed Tijani to do the honorable thing and resign.
You heard the former Christian Council General Secretary, Reverend Fred Digby. He has also been stating what they found as a coalition of civil society organizations as far as the affiliation of the two appointees are concerned.
This is what we know so far, Dr. Peter Piahini. Since the announcement of his appointment as a member of the EC, social media postings have revealed that Dr. Piahini is an activist of the New Patriotic Party in the Bono region. Dr. Piahini is featured on an NPP labeled flyer as one of the 6 prospects for the position of the Bono regional minister. The commenter who put up that post states that the Bono region and the NPP party need much more energetic and vibrant leadership to take the region to the desired goals. In other social media video clip that has gone viral since his appointment, Dr. Piahini is seen and heard participating in a radio program as a self-identified NPP partisan and activist in the Bono region and naming one Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Brenye DC, as the chairman.
You heard the Reverend Fred Digby there. Sarah Pencrow is our reporter who sat through that press conference a short time ago. She's joining me with some more. Sarah, do the CSO say any further steps they intend to take if these two individuals on the Electoral Commission fail to resign or the president does not remove them from the area?
Well, Kamala, like you rightly heard from Dr. Dube, they are only asking that the two individuals honorably resign because constitutionally it is not illegal for them to be appointed, but morally they want them to resign. They are saying that they would monitor the space for a little while and see if they would do the honorable thing. If they don't, then they would consult with other stakeholders and find out other avenues to ensure they do the right thing, because they fear the worst could happen in the upcoming general elections if these two are not taken off the Electoral Commission.
And tell me about whether or not they have any plans. I know they've supported calls for a constitutional amendment which will make the appointments of such individuals more transparent and inclusive. What more do they say about this?
Well, they are actually proposing that the president propose and make public names and biographical information of candidates it wish to appoint to such positions known to the public, other stakeholders, as well as the Council of State, so that the public can make input and give information about these key individuals before they are appointed onto the Electoral Commission.
Thank you, Sarah Pencrow, my colleague there who sat through that press conference. Let's still stay with matters relating to approvals and swearing in of new ministers and appointees. President Akufo-Addo swore in 2 justices of the Supreme Court with a charge on them to uphold fairness and neutrality. Justice George Kingsley Kumpson and Justice Guy Wu were approved by Parliament during the session which considered the new ministers who were controversially passed.
It is extremely important for you to bear in mind that the growth of our nation demands that we have a judiciary that commands the respect of the people by the quality of its delivery of justice, as well as by the comportment of its judges. Applications of the laws of the land must occur in the words of the judicial oath, without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
President Akufo-Addo there, Justice Kumpson assured the president of discharging their mandate without fear or favor.
We are committed to serving with professionalism and impartiality. We recognize the enormous nature of the work and the responsibilities that comes with the position. We, however, promise to give decisions that are just, fair, and in accordance with the law.
You heard there Justice Kingsley Kumpson, one of 2 Supreme Court justices sworn in by President Akufo-Addo. This afternoon, the National Democratic Congress is gearing up to end its 3-day vetting of parliamentary aspirants. The process, which began on Monday, has seen interesting turn of events amid large crowds of followers throwing support behind their favorites. Here in the Greater Accra region, the stakes have been high as many anticipate the vetting of Ayawaso West Wogon aspirant actor John Dumelo and his colleague Fred Nyama, as well as another contender, Moses Befi, Echampong. Other constituencies also being considered, including Lejokuku, Tema East, West, Central, Ladade, Kotopon, Blakk South, Okankwe South, and Ayawaso North. Meanwhile, there were near fisticuffs between supporters of rival aspirants vying for the Ayawaso North seat. We're working the phone line to speak to my colleague Christian Yale, who has been monitoring this particular process. We know that the NDC says today brings to finality the vetting of the aspirants in the Greater Accra region. We also know that sometime yesterday, John Dumelo, Fred Nyoma were supposed to have appeared before the committee. That couldn't happen, as the party says, due to some internal issues. They were unable to hear from them. Hopefully, they could hear from them before the exercise ends. Today, Christian Yale is joining me. Thank you, Christian. Bring us up to speed with happenings so far. Hello, Christian. I want you to tell us what's been happening where you are. Christian Yale.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what's been happening.
All right, so we have been at the Greater Accra Regional Office of the NDC, where the final day of vetting is currently ongoing, and so far we've had about 2 constituencies that have successfully gone through the vetting, like the Boku and Teshi. But there have been few incidents of misunderstanding and tension between some supporters of the incumbent MP for Ayawaso North, in the person of Ajaga, and then the contender in the person of Sadiq Sulemana. Now, the camp of the contender, Sulemana, believes the incumbent MP has not done enough towards the development of the constituency. So it is high time you see Ajaga, who is the incumbent MP, is, voted out. And Sulemana is given a chance to, be the MP. That has resulted in a trade of insult and misunderstanding. It has been a near fisticuffs here, and it took the intervention of the police and other security detail here to calm tempers and to, resolve the situation. However, one key area or one key constituency people are looking forward to has been the Ayawaso West Woburn constituency, and the version of John Dumelo and Fred Nyoma and Moses Befi Achampong is still on hold because the vetting committee is waiting for the national party to give them the go-ahead or to give them a directive whether they should hold the vetting for this candidate or not. I interacted with one of the members on the committee who tells me that until a directive has been given to them from the national party, they are unable to vet them. So for today, once again, for the 3rd straight day, the vetting of John Dumelo and Fred Nyoma is not going to take place. As to the reasons why it has been put on hold indefinitely, the committee is unable or is not ready to give us the exact reasons or the exact reasons for this decision. But the party is yet to make a final decision on that. But definitely, it is not going to be today.
Thank you, Christian Yale, my colleague at the party's head office here in Accra. Let's cross over now and do some quick checks in Kumasi, because we know the vetting process was simultaneously happening in other parts of the country. We'll also be making a pit stop in the northern region to speak to Christopher Marco to find out how events unfolded over the last 3 days. As we know, some of the aspirants were disqualified, and then we also know many others have sailed through so far because, of course, the NDC is looking to begin processes and set in motion activities to be ready for election 2024. And they say they are looking to redeem the country from the shackles of poverty and hardships, as they say the Akufo-Addo-led government has plunged the nation into an economic abyss. Let's cross over to Kumasi now. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar has been monitoring the vetting process in Kumasi. Ibrahim, thank you for joining us. We understand that there's supposed to have been some contention in the Swansea constituency specifically because of all the bad blood between incumbent Muntaka Mubarak party executives there. Beyond that, what has been developing with respect to the vetting process?
I would say, thankfully, it's been incident-free. That is how come, because there was that assumption that something chaotic could happen. So the regional party officers beefed up security here. But thankfully, as we speak, the two aspirants, that's the incumbent member of Parliament, Muntaka, and the contender, Masaudu, are done with their vetting, and they left in a simple way. But when they were coming, they came with a lot of supporters, both sides, and just to show that.
Oh, I'm afraid we just lost Ibrahim Abubakar there. He was just telling us about how the event unfolded. He says incumbent Muhammad Muntaka Mubarak, together with Masaudu party chairman, who appear to have been having some friction between them, went through the vetting process and have since left the party offices. And he says other aspirants have come and also gone. And so the activities in the Ashanti region has so far been smooth. We will be trying in the course of time to get through to the northern region, where we know that the vetting also simultaneously went on there, and so far we know that more than 30 aspirants have so far gone through the process, and the NDC is concluding the vetting processes in many parts of the country today. Let's head to the Ashanti region on the school feeding program, because we know that the caterers in that part of the country have suspended cooking services today because of unpaid arrears, and also the 97 peswa grants government gives them for the individuals to feed their pupils. Over the last 2 days, the caterers have been on a warpath with the regional minister over the stipends. In fact, they protested and went to the regional minister's offices yesterday to present a petition because they say they cannot continue to feed the pupils. The minister appeared to have some exchanges with the caterers, but we will hear from Dorothy Amwako. She's leader of the group of caterers who were at the minister's offices, and the minister also addressed them and mentioned that even though they had grievances, they could have addressed them properly.
Waiting for the next payment and the increment as well. And we also want to hear from our gender ministry. What is the new development? What are they going to tell us? What are we expecting? What should we expect? So without that, I don't think we will cook.
You had there, Dorothy Amako. Let's cross over now and speak to William Evans Income. William, do we know if the impact of this decision by the caterers is already being felt in schools?
Absolutely, gradually, because schools were on recess. We just resumed today. Ordinarily, the caterers will come around and then clean the place, prepare, the first meal. Some who are unable to do that today are expected to do that tomorrow. But since they are currently on industrial action, nothing of that sort has happened. And Kamla, we are talking about in excess of 1,500 schools across the Ashanti region which are feeling the impact currently.
Has there been any efforts at all to engage these caterers by whether the Ashanti Regional Minister's Office or even the school feeding secretariat in the region?
None. In fact, this morning when I engaged the leadership of the caterers in charge of the school feeding, and they were telling me that they haven't received any call, there hasn't been any engagement. Even if, according to one of them, even if the government doesn't have money, at least there should be some level of a dialogue, but that hasn't happened.
I'm Evan Sinko, my colleague there, with the latest on the strike by the school feeding caterers in the Ashanti region. He will end up bulleting for us this afternoon. If you log on to 3news.com, you find a lot more stories there. Nanekia Mensa Brampa has the latest in business. You want to stay tuned in to 3FM 92.7.
Very good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily this afternoon. My name is Nana Ekwegyir Aggrey. Coming up, stocks rally on the back of news of dividend payment, pushing the overall market performance a bit higher, and the local currency registers some appreciation to the dollar in past days. Today selling at 10 cedis 40 pesos. Reasons why, we'll be telling you more. Stay with us. My name is Nana Ekwegyir Aggrey. Let's get to the details now. As news of dividend payment led to solid gains in share prices of some listed equities on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now this resulted in the composite index, which measures the overall performance of the exchange, increasing by 14% in March compared to February, bringing the year-to-date return to 12.33%. There's more in the following report.
Our investors are again looking at the equities asset class. So there's been a lot of interest in MTN shares. There's been a lot of interest in the petroleum sector. There's been a lot of interest in the agriculture sector led by Ben's oil palm. We have one gold-backed ETF from South Africa, New Gold. There's been a lot of interest in that as well. So we are seeing investors looking at the equity sector as or the equity segment of the market as an alternative, as somewhere to not put all their eggs in one basket, but also to look at that. For us, our aim, as I keep saying, is to diversify the market, is to diversify the companies, is to bring more companies here.
You heard the managing director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abena Amwa, there. Senior lecturer at the economics department of the University of Ghana School, Professor Godfred Boku, says the growth in services sector has been largely fueled by an increase in imports. In a presentation during the 3 Business Economic Stability Summit, Professor Boku said the abrupt transition from agriculture as the leading contributor to GDP into services has created more jobs for other countries while increasing the unemployment rate in Ghana.
Is Ghana really a service-based economy? The answer is no. Typically, if you look at the economic transformation, when a country begins off from agriculture and suddenly service is leading, it tells you that that economy is matured. So it's gone through that process. So, but in the case of Ghana, we started off agriculture being the leading contribution to GDP, and then we skip industry. That's what the data is telling us. And then we jump straight to where? Service. That service sector is actually not quality service. It's a sector that is driven by retail and wholesale, largely imports. So once your service sector is leading, particularly in the area of retail and wholesale, once your industry isn't doing well, then it means that the bulk of what is happening here is going to be what? Imports. Typically, once you import, you're actually exporting jobs to those countries where you are importing from and importing their unemployment into your country. So let's see what that plays out going forward. So you will see that approximately 1.6 million of Ghana's economically active population are out of work as we speak. And unemployment is higher among university graduates between 23 and 29. It's as though the easiest way to become unemployed today is to go to the university.
And that was senior lecturer at the University of Ghana School, Professor Godfred Boku, there speaking in a presentation during Tuesday's 3 Business Economic Stability Sustainability Summit. We have some more updates on that. Subsequently, we'll be giving you more. Meanwhile, lawyer David Ofosudote says government missed a huge opportunity of expanding the tax net through mobile money by getting banks to convert Momo accounts into bank accounts. Contributing during the 3 Business Summit, Mr. Ofosudote said, our leaders have failed to listen and hence must be blamed ostensibly for the system failure.
I said if 16 million people vote and less than 4 million people have bank accounts, There is something wrong with the society and the mindset of the people. Why do you want to introduce e-levy? Why is it that if a lot of people are doing Momo, why don't you rather decide that all the banks, all the telcos should automatically convert every Momo into a bank account? Zero bank account, automatically. Now check those Momo accounts which have not got a TIN number. It was a massive opportunity to pull those outside the tax bracket into the tax system. And I made this on TV and everywhere. Because once you draw them into the tax system, they are into the banking system. If you don't have a TIN number, I will take 5% turnover tax of every money that goes into your account. If you have a TIN number, I won't tax you. Because you already have a TIN number, you are paying tax. You see, there are only 3 ways to raise revenue in the public sector, 3 ways. So my first point is, you can get those who are already paying to pay more. We seem to be doing a lot of that. 2 is to get those who are not paying to be brought into the tax bracket. We are not doing that. 3 is to get those who are paying to pay higher of what they are paying of the same. What we are doing is that we are getting those who are paying to pay a variance more and then pay higher of what they are already paying. And leaving those who are not. If you can mobilize 16 people to vote, 16 million people to vote, and you can't mobilize that same people to have bank accounts, you have a fundamental problem in thinking.
David Ofosudote is a lawyer speaking earlier at the 3 Business Economic Sustainability Summit. Now, former Finance Minister Setekwe says despite attempts to restructure the country's debts, it is important for government to keep an eye on arrears. Speaking in an exclusive interview with 3 Business, Setekwe said the huge arrears that have saddled the country's finances need to be adequately catered for in order to avoid another crisis. And we'll be giving you more details in that. But let's just end with the performance of the local currency. And the local currency, the cedi, has been experiencing some appreciation in the past days, now selling at 10 cedis 40 pesos to the dollar. This, according to lead researcher at JCB Capital, Courage Bote, is a correction cycle. He explains further.
He was undervalued or is undervalued, and don't get me wrong, the fundamentals meant weakening, but it weakened to a level that I felt was excessive, and we are in the process of correction now. I dare say that the performance in 2022 was a very unusual one. If you cast it back to 2021, where we ended the year with the retail cedi dollar exchange rate of about 6 cedi 40 pesos really, then the jump to about 15, 16 cedis sometime in 2022 was very unusual. And it was driven by the sentiment on the market, the speculation that resulted from it and all of that. And so with everything happening so far, it looks like everything is set for the IMF deal to kick in, and that would usher in the much needed reforms. I think the market is pricing some of these things. And that is why you see the exchange rate correcting, the cedi correcting against the US dollar.
That was Courage Bote, a lead researcher at UCB Capital, ending this afternoon's Business Daily with me, Nana Ikuya Mensa Abrampa. Remember, when you log on to 3news.com, we have more business news updates. That's it for this afternoon. Enjoy your lunch. Blakk Rasta continues. Good afternoon.